Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Tuesday edition of Video Clips Health News, brought to you by Wellness Forum Health and the Wellness Forum Institute for Health Studies. And so I want to start with something I think you're going to be really excited about. We've been talking at the office about the economy is unsettling and life is unsettling and people are feeling sideways. And so I am going to offer a free 3-day boot camp. This is going to be March 14th, 15th, and 16th for 3 hours each evening, free, no charge. And if you're a health professional, join. You'll see a lot of what we teach. If you're a consumer, join. It's for members, it's for non-members. We can take a few hundred people based on the size of our Zoom account. And we'll record it in case you can't join live, but I hope you'll join live because we're going to have some dialogue. I'm going to ask people in the group who are joining us, if you have health issues you want to talk about, I'll do some interchange so you can see how we solve healthcare problems. I'm going to have some of our successful members share their stories with you and you can interview them. So lots and lots of information. So it's going to be 9 hours free, spread over 3 days, live, interactive, recorded if you can't join us live, but I hope you will, because there's nothing like live and interactive with Pam Popper, right? Ask people who've done it and they will tell you. So excited about that and hope that we're doing our little part to maybe ease some of the stress people are having. And I hope a lot of you will join me. So email pampopper@msn.com if you want to join. More free stuff coming. All right. Meet the nurse practitioner in our office. If you're in Central Ohio, we're driving distance. She can see anybody in Ohio as a patient. That Saturday, February 24th at 2 p.m., we'll have some light refreshments and you'll get a chance to meet Randy. And then we are getting huge interest in these food over medicine clubs and starting them all over the country as a way to gather together people for healthy food and exploring food and that sort of thing. So if you're interested in that, let me know. All right. So news item number one, the medical system tends to be, in my opinion, a little bit cavalier, a lot cavalier actually, about removing body parts like gallbladders and the appendix. In fact, 8% of the population can expect to develop acute appendicitis, the response to which is almost always appendectomy. There are some situations, no question, in which removal is warranted, but many cases, if not most, this can make things worse instead of better, and I'll get back to that in a minute. Now, there are well-referenced articles on the gallbladder and appendix removal posted in our members' library, but the reason I wanted to talk about it today is there is ongoing research on this issue, particularly of the appendix, and more information is released regularly. So, for example, researchers recently reported that removing the appendix increases the risk of developing Crohn's disease, an autoimmune condition, by 53%. Previous studies have shown other fairly significant consequences, including a 4 times greater risk of developing C. diff if you're hospitalized and you don't have an appendix. Now, one of the reasons why a lot of people agree to have their appendices removed is that they're told that the organ's useless, it doesn't really have any value, so if you take it out, it doesn't matter. But that is not true. The appendix is an important part of your immune system, housing a backup supply of beneficial bacteria to replenish the microbiome in case of infection or serious illness like cholera. While removing the appendix is necessary some of the time, most of the time it's not, and we have data that shows that. So a meta-analysis of 4 randomized clinical trials that compared antibiotic treatment to surgery for uncomplicated appendicitis showed that the use of antibiotics alone was successful 63% of the time, and patients who took antibiotics instead of having surgery were 39% less likely to have complications than those who had the surgery. Children, same thing. The success rate for children treated with drugs only, 94.6% at hospital discharge, 89.2% at 1 year, and 75.7% at 21 months. Now, there's an important caveat to this, and that is that, as you might imagine, kids or adults for that matter are not being sent home with instructions about how to eat well and reduce the risk of having an appendicitis attack and that sort of thing. So I'm sure the numbers would be even better if that advice was given. So Bottom line, best to keep all of your body parts if possible, and this means your appendix too. So how do you do this? Well, you look at the cause. So just real briefly, a little bit of anatomy is important to understanding here. The contents of the small intestine empty into the large intestine. The first part of the large intestine is called the cecum. The appendix is attached to the cecum. When the opening of the appendix becomes blocked, fluids accumulate, causing appendicitis. The cause of the blockage is unhealthy remnants of partially digested foods, which irritate the opening of the appendix. Studies show that diets high in fiber, which permit more rapid transit of food through the digestive tract and more frequent defecation, result in reduced risk of appendicitis, while diets higher in fat and sugar and lower in fiber increase the risk. So show your appendix some love and eat more plants, all right? Next thing is a follow-up to a study that I reported on a couple of years ago. Background on this, we've used dietary change as part of a strategy to help women reduce or end hot flashes and night sweats for almost 3 decades now. So I was not surprised to find a randomized controlled trial published in 2021 showing that a low-fat plant-based diet that included whole soybeans reduced frequency and severity of hot flashes and improved quality of life for postmenopausal women. Within 12 weeks, just 12 weeks, almost all of the intervention group participants were free of moderate to severe hot flashes, and that's what we have experienced as well with our own population. A recently published secondary analysis involved comparison of the gut microbiome for the intervention group eating a plant-based diet at baseline and then after 12 weeks on the plant-based diet. The researchers reported that reductions in very specific types of bacteria were associated with a reduction in hot flashes. The microbiome, you've heard me say this before, influences all aspects of health, and diet affects the composition of the microbiome, so the results are not surprising. So once again, show your microbiome some love and eat some plants, right? Same message. By the way, I'm teaching a GI class starting tonight. It's an 8-class series covering everything from the appendix, the issues that we're just talking about, and the gut microbiome to inflammatory bowel disease and cancer. So if you're interested in taking that class, send me an email and I'll send you details. Now I want to talk about something concerning big food. And so it's a favorable outcome on a lawsuit that involves big agriculture. So here's the story. Mary L. Williamson graduated from the Los Angeles Unified School District in 2023. While she was a senior at Eagle Rock High School, she was informed by the school that she was not permitted to share information about plant milks at school or to say anything critical about the dairy industry unless she agreed to provide pro-dairy information at the same time. In other words, she was not free to share her opinion about cow's milk. Mary Ann, with the help of a nonprofit, this wasn't our lawsuit, sued the school system, claiming that the district was unconstitutionally discriminating against her by prohibiting her from distributing information about the negative health effects of dairy. What made this particularly egregious is that positive promotions, which were approved by the school, like Got Milk campaign ads, were included during morning announcements. The government is not supposed to prohibit speech just based on a person's point of view. So what would the government have to do with this whole issue? Well, legally, cow's milk has to be offered as part of every breakfast and lunch that is served as part of the National School Lunch Program. And federal law states that schools participating in the USDA's school lunch program, quote, shall not directly or indirectly restrict the sale or marketing of fluid milk products by the school or a person approved by the school at any time or any place. The USDA's interpretation of this law is that cafeteria signs, printed materials, etc., can't promote any beverage other than dairy in a way that might detract from sales of dairy. And even water cannot be offered in the lunch line if it is perceived to be seen as an alternative to choosing milk. I happened to mention this to a colleague during a meeting last Saturday who told me about what happened to her grandson, a student in a public elementary school. The child's mother was told that the family's dietary preferences were not acceptable as a reason for the child not having milk at school. A doctor's note was the only way to opt out. Now, most people are pretty aware these days about how powerful Big Pharma is. Big Ag is just as powerful, maybe a little more so. Several decades ago, Senator McGovern from South Dakota learned how powerful Big Ag was when he held hearings that covered the connection between high animal food consumption and coronary artery disease and other health conditions. He lost his reelection bid largely due to the influence of the agriculture lobby, which decided that he was just really bad for business. So, what does this mean for all of us? Well, changing the diets and the health of the people we care about will not be accomplished by waiting for the government and elected officials to fix situations like what I just described. Lawsuits work, you guys have heard me say that before, and education through vehicles like Wellness Forum and our newly launched Food Over Medicine clubs. That's the way to go. So, we're working against a huge machine of propaganda that's telling people all the time what to eat, not necessarily the right things, but telling them what to eat. And to counter that, we really just need to have a lot of grassroots community effort to change hearts and minds and taste buds and preferences for better food. So if you're interested in our upcoming boot camp free in March, if you're interested in our new healthcare system and you're a provider who would like to be part of it, if you're interested in starting a food over medicine group or anything that I regularly talk about, my email address is pampopper@msn.com, and I hope to see you in one of our sessions very soon. As usual, pass this on to anybody who you think would enjoy watching it, and I'll be back to you on Thursday with more news.